Hi guys, Freddy here once again with another retro RPG, and the winner of the poll this week was the new entry again. This time, the Restless Dead campaign for Warhammer Fantasy Roleplay. Now, it's a solid edition and I'm going to enjoy going through it in the rest of this video, but I am getting a little tired of adding something and it instantly winning. So I'm going to start mixing things up a bit. I'm going to take two things out each week and add in two new things. So there'll be two options every week. Now, what I'm going to take out, as well as obviously Restless Dead being removed, I'm going to take out the Arms and Equipment Guide for Alternity. And I'm going to put Alternity itself in instead. Now, with that and whatever else I choose, there'll be two new options and we'll start freshening up the list a bit. And hopefully, we'll be doing some more interesting stuff. Anyway, let's go over to the desktop. Now this is the Restless Dead campaign for Warhammer Fantasy Roleplay 1st edition, and it came out in 1989. And to really get at its core, it is a compilation of articles from White Dwarf magazine. Now, as I've said in previous videos, White Dwarf magazine at that time was absolutely knocking it out of the park. They were producing some of the finest role-playing material I've ever seen before or since. And compiling them into these books was no bad thing for people who couldn't pick up every issue and had missed some. Now, the idea that the Restless Dead is a campaign is a bit tenuous. There are short linking paragraphs to link the individual adventures together, but what it does as well is provide linking information to put these into the Enemy Within campaign, which is the absolutely classic, remembered to this day campaign for Warhammer Fantasy Roleplay. Absolutely iconic for the system. And the idea that you could buff it out, extend it by adding in these adventures was fantastic. Now, let's have a look at the back cover. Let's quickly go over that. So, something stirs. The spirits crawl down the barriers between our world and theirs. They crawl from beneath the Moor's cloak and re-enter the land of the living. Their intent unknown. Beyond the realm of possibility, the dead will not stay dead. The Restless Dead is a complete campaign for Warhammer Fantasy Roleplay. The characters must fight the combined forces of chaos and undead to reclaim a corpse they must bury, so that its ghost need no longer walk the earth. Once drawn into contact with the spirit world, the players are led into the campaign's terrifying conclusion in a 200-year-old house, where they must defeat the haunting horror or become trapped in Moor's realm forever. This book also contains 24 pages of new combat rules, spells and magic items, and the Grapes of Wrath, a scenario designed to link Death on the Reik and Power Behind the Throne. The Restless Dead campaign is a compilation of the best of recent White Dwarf scenarios, a specifically written adventure, and a host of new material for every Warhammer Fantasy Roleplay player. So, looking through it, well, first of all, it's a nice hardback book, which is always lovely. Restless Dead Campaign and Original Material by Carl Sargent. An absolute classic team here. John Blanche's art, Graham Davis, Jim Mambra, Phil Gallagher, all fantastic writers. Got the contents page, and we're going straight into the campaign. This campaign material may be used in 3 different ways. As a mini-campaign in its own rights, the adventures can be linked together and run as the full Restless Dead campaign. As a sourcebook for Enemy Within campaign encounters and adventures may be extracted and set into the Enemy Within campaign. Or 3, as a series of one-off adventures and encounters. Individual adventurers and encounters can be extracted and played off as one-offs or set into existing campaigns. So that's what they were originally designed as. They were one-offs. Just adventures in White Dwarf magazine. So we've got the Restless Dead campaign map, how it links them together. We're straight on, expanding the Enemy Within campaign, running as the Restless Dead as a campaign, details those. We're into campaign notes for Night of Blood, how it links into the Enemy Within, how it links into the Restless Dead, how it should be completed. Then we've got the adventure itself, where the players spend a night in an inn and things go bad. A lot of these adventures are basically about staying in inns, I have to say. The artwork, let's flick back a second, is just lovely. The Warhammer Fantasy Roleplay style artwork of the time, just absolutely gorgeous. I've always been a sucker for very nice floor plans and things, and it probably came from White Dwarf at this time. They just really, really were doing a fantastic job. So we've got the hooded band pup there. Campaign notes on the road. So this is just a couple of encounters, Amaretta and a friend in need. We've got campaign notes for Eureka, an adventure involving an inventor. Again, lovely, lovely artwork throughout, nice blueprints of buildings, a goblin and a breathing mask there. Then we're on to Rough Night at the Three Feathers, which is often considered to be the finest Warhammer Fantasy Roleplay standalone adventure. The writer was trying to do something new and interesting, and woven, I believe it's 7 different plots into one night of adventuring. So, a group of people are staying in an inn overnight, and 7 different series of plots are interweaving, where people will get killed, where events will happen, just leading to absolute chaos, the players being confused, so much to be investigated and learned, and so much fun to be had. Again, a lovely diagram of the blueprint of the building, artwork absolutely fabulous, although I did read from Graham Davis that the 3 feathers in the logo were not how he conceived it. He conceived them as being 3 feathers in a sort of plume, with central 1 and 2 leading out in the side, like the Prince of Wales crest on the 2pence piece in the UK. The characters, we've got the Affair of the Hidden Jewel here, a melodrama with a thick plot. Again, with the introductory information for the Enemy Within and the Restless Dead campaign. Again, another inn. As I said, many of these adventures are just taking place in inns. We've got the Ritual. Oh, just, I love that image. Into the Sewers, where every Warhammer Fantasy adventure should end up. I've often said, Dungeons & Dragons, you delve into ancient tombs for magical items, whereas in Warhammer, you're far likely to be delving into the sewers to fight cultists. The Haunting Horror. Again, some lovely artwork here. I believe this is the adventure which is separate, only published in here, to tie up the campaign, where you stay in the house overnight. The rest of the adventure being the journey to get there, the inns you stay in. And then we've got the Grapes of Wrath, which is an absolutely fabulous and quite funny at times adventure by Carl Sargent, involving a number of levitating chaos skulls, affecting a town, Prittstock, as it's attacked. And you've got the inhabitants, including this lovely person with stone teeth, because they've lost all their own. I believe they're gnawing on warpstone and slowly becoming mutated. I'm giving away details of an adventure here, and I don't usually like to do that, but this is absolutely gorgeous. There's so much more in it than just a couple of encounters like I'm describing, including the adventure, bestiary, and then we're on to the rules section. So we've got basic careers, how to change careers, and it's just fleshing out the rules in the rulebook. Teaches NPCs, gaining skills from old careers. So just because you've stopped being a rat catcher doesn't mean that you can't go back and learn things that were accessible to you before. We've got a scholar here who can act as somebody to teach people. Revised combat rules, just improving the initiative system, sequencing multiple attacks. Parrying weapons. And then we're on to magic, where we're adding some spells and fleshing out with battle magic. Because obviously when Warhammer Fantasy Roleplay was written, it was a spin-off of Warhammer Fantasy Battle, but magic hadn't really settled down. So this brings in battle magic from Warhammer Fantasy Battle. We've got druidic magic, so we can introduce some druid spells here. Enchantments of the Empire, new magic items. We have a few here. Magical bows, wands, etc. And that's it. It's a quite brief book. How many pages are we sitting at here? 103, 104 pages. But I really do like it. It's something I managed to pick up at the time. I've actually used it as a mouse mat for many years because I needed something with a rigid back. But I do adore it. I like having it to hand. There's some great White Dwarf adventures in there, which I highly recommend to anybody who hasn't played them or seen them before. But anyway, I think I've whittled on for quite long enough as usual. Please like, subscribe, and comment below, as it does me massive favours with the YouTube algorithm. But most of all, you look after yourselves, and I'll catch you later. Bye now.